Well, hi, I'm doing something different today. I'm going to do a little overhead presentation. I'm just kind of playing around here, but I wanted to go over why you should care about getting clarity on your personal brand, what it impacts in your business, and kind of draw the line for you from the point of sale, basically, revenue, which is what we all need to be generating at some point to have a business, and from your customer's perspective. So that's what I'm going to do with this. And let me know how you like it, okay? Okay, so here we have your potential client. This is your ideal customer, okay? Here they are, and at some point eventually, right, you are engaging with some of these people and they're engaging with you and they're paying you money for your services. That is the ultimate outcome of having a business, correct? You're changing lives, but at the same time, you have to generate income to be sustainable. And so this is, one of the preferred outcomes that we have. Now, for this person to get from not knowing you really at all to knowing you, liking you, and trusting you is something that you need to start to think really strategically about, okay? And I have learned this myself through a process of trial and error, and I'm still learning, to be honest, and that's one thing I love about doing business online. By the way, this presentation is for people building an online business that are selling services, and so it's something we're all still learning, and the whole space continues to change so quickly that sometimes it takes, that's why I'm doing this content kind of on the fly, is just to help everybody kind of keep up. Sometimes you look at these courses that are out there, and by the time you buy the course, it's almost dated. Things are moving so quickly. So this is one of the preferred outcomes, correct? Well, one way that you get there is, so this person starts to notice your content online. We'll talk about that in just a minute, but perhaps they sign up for your free email, the freebie that you give away to get their email address. Maybe that's one of the conversions. Maybe they start to follow you on social media and eventually they come to this. But there are different ways that they start to notice you, right? They follow you, they get your free content, and then perhaps at some point they engage with one of your lower priced offers because they're getting to know you, still liking you, and they trust you enough to give you, a little bit, okay? And then after that's a good experience and you're still meeting, their needs and helping them solve their problems, then perhaps they come into the second level offer or even the third. So this is what's commonly called a value ladder, or a sales ladder, or even a funnel, because this is part of your customer's total journey, which can also be called a funnel, because the idea is you got a bunch of people out here who are starting to notice you, and as they move through the stuff that you put out there for them, some subset of them are going to become clients, okay? Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that everybody here goes through this, 1, 2, 3. Sometimes you might get somebody who jumps straight to here because it was a word of mouth recommendation, and you just had a really good phone call with them and boom. Or they kind of go back and forth. So it's not necessarily linear, but this is the basic idea of how you want to be structuring your service, how you package your services once you get the point to your client is actually entering this journey with you. Now, unfortunately, it is really hard to get them to this place online. And let's talk about what that looks like now. So this is the kind of world that your client lives in, and you live there too, okay? They have thousands of messages coming at them every day. Online, of course. In real life, they've got messages coming at them. They have to-dos, they have problems to solve, they have dreams and hopes and emotions and feelings. It's all they're full dimensional lives that everybody has out there. And pretty often we're coming at them from this space, right? So we have to show, though, in our content that we empathize and we realize that all this other stuff is going on as well. Not in every single piece of content, but over time. And we'll talk about that just a little bit in a minute. Because what's happening is all this stuff, especially online, but all these things that are coming at them, there's so much out there that people get overwhelmed and it just starts to all look the same. It just looks like noise, okay? Especially online, unfortunately, but it just starts to all look like noise, and so they're not really seeing any of it until something in real life pops up or something draws their attention in their field of vision. So what you want to do, the way that you get their attention in all of this with your online marketing is, first of all, you figure out where they're hanging out online. And you want to create content, of course, that's specific to them. So that means you have to know quite a bit about them. Okay? And because once you know more about them and you know what is unique about you, because you really can't talk about, you can't really talk about your client and knowing a lot about them until you also talk about what's unique about what you do. So that's the other thing to start thinking about is it's called unique value proposition, which is just kind of a big word or kind of a term that just means what makes you different from everybody else who does the same thing that you do in your space. This is a really important thing to think about. The nice thing about personal brand, though, is that unlike a company, you already, since you are your brand, you're already unique just from being you. Sometimes it's just a matter of figuring out what other people see in you that makes you unique that this person would care about. Okay? We'll talk about more of that later. More about all that later. So, what's unique about you? Let's make you Buddha. Okay, so here you are. What's unique about you, okay? You're creating content that's specific to them, and then it's going to resonate with them. And when it resonates with them, they're going to start to notice it. It's going to pop out in their field of awareness out from all this other stuff that doesn't really resonate with them, or all this other stuff that looks the same. Now, we've all seen the content that looks samey same. You want to avoid putting out content that looks just like other people in your space because you're just not going to stand out to them if they're seeing the same thing over and over again. And so once you get down what it is about your personal brand, what's unique and what you can talk about that's going to resonate with this particular client, you want to be consistent with that. And that means over more than just a couple platforms or more than just one platform for sure. And you want to think about what are your clear pillars? What are your few points you're going to stay in, whether it's subject matter or different themes is a good word, that you're going to start to create content that's going to eventually lead that person to sign up for this email to lead them into this process with you. Okay? So you're thinking from the end, what's the ultimate transformation for this person, and how do you draw them through in their journey with you, so that they eventually end up doing this and then perhaps this, and then if they really are an ideal client, they follow all the way through with you. Okay? So that's the reason why it's very important to get clear, like have written down on a brand chart is what I'm calling it, but whatever works for you, have written down what your unique thing is, what's unique about you that you offer, and then your specific themes of content, because then that keeps you from creating content all over the place. And the pressure to create content is huge. Believe me, I know that. And so it keeps you also from just creating like random stuff that just looks the same in everybody else's just to have something to post that day. You get really strategic about this and you create, I can talk to you about ways to multi-purpose things. And of course my jam is video. So that would be my bias because video works harder for you than any other kind of content. But at any rate, you can create pieces of content around these themes and repurpose them and just end up working a lot smarter instead of harder. Like I know, because the saddest thing is if your content is looking the same as everybody else's, it's not resonating, it's not consistent, it's just noise to them. You're working super hard to create this, right? This noise is just as easy to create content that resonates as it is content that doesn't resonate. So you might as well create some content that resonates, because if you don't, you're doing all this hard work to not be, for people not to see you. So this is an oversimplification because obviously there are paid strategies to get your content in front of people, and there's whole, email list strategies. But what I want to have you all avoid is spending money on programs and courses and that skip this part, or they don't talk about you doing, having this down somewhere. How does what I do? How is it different? Why does this person care? And how is it different from my competition? Let's say perhaps Little Dragon, lots of competition out there. So you've got to be really clear about how you're different from this person. Okay. All right. And then also last piece is it keeps you from chasing after, somebody who looks quite like this person, but maybe isn't quite the same, or you decide altogether, oh, this person isn't, for me, so I'm going to go chase after Buddha instead. Well, maybe that's the correct pivot for your business, but you won't know that until you know more about who you are and your specific unique gifts. Yeah. What's unique about what you do, and how does that interact with the problem that you solve for your ideal client, whoever it ends up being? Okay. I hope that's helpful. If you have any questions, let me know. Bye.